of the past planning board meeting.
So we.
Moved by Tom, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by David, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to our only item for this evening, new business, log 2025 PBO5 for 135 Evans, the Bloger Apartments and People's Inc. sign permit. There's someone here representing the applicants. Step forward, identify yourself, and tell us what you'd like to do.
Good evening, I'm Chris McCaffrey with Aldridge Sign Company, here on behalf of People Inc. For the proposed ground sign for the Boca Homes project at 135 Evans. We are proposing a double-sided ground sign per the drawings, and I have extra copies if anybody needs them. The sign is constructed of a high-density urethane foam with a recessed background, raised lettering. Extremely durable. And then it's encased in an aluminum cabinet, so similar to what Sacred Heart has or St. Benedict's. So the aluminum cabinet sits in between the masonry columns. The sign is designed to tie in with the architecture of the building, using the same brick and the same masonry block base. The colors will also be the same hardy board. It's a blue-gray. I have a color sample if you need that. It's the hardy board Deep Ocean. So that will be the cabinet color. And then simple black on white copy. And then the People Inc. logo. There is a smaller address panel. And I apologize because the line that was drawn, originally we showed the phone number panel down on the block, but then the client asked for it to be moved back up, so we didn't move that line. So the phone number is actually the 1.9 square feet. So certainly willing to answer any questions.
And what was that color match again from Hardy?
It's Deep Ocean Hardy board is the cabinet color, and that's that blue-gray that you see. And the one building that's furthest to the south currently does have that color siding on it already. It's very attractive, and again, everything in the sign matches the building, which is nice that everything ties together.
So this is an externally illuminated sign
That's correct.
per this cut sheet that was submitted from Damar DF 9400 LED 12.
Yes, those fixtures will be attached to the block at the bottom and provide uplighting for the sign.
So we need night sky compliant lighting. So,
Do you have the specifications that we can provide?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
most likely. I don't know how uplighting works. But dark sky compliant is. Give me a minute to find it.
that's right.
And where is it exactly mounted, Chris? It's on the,
It would be down on the masonry, so it's up off the ground for snow,
okay,
and providing.
so we'd see like a dark,
I don't think it's gonna work anyway, because I don't think any of the picture is gonna be dark sky compliant. So I think they're gonna have to figure something else out.
Okay,
In section 84-9B, all light fixtures shall be dark sky compliant and directed so as not to cast an illumination of more than 2-foot candles on adjacent non-residential properties or 0.1-foot candle on adjacent residential properties. That's two standards. The first being dark sky compliant, which I don't know how, if it's at the base going up 4 to 6 feet, it's dark sky compliant. It should be.
But these structure, or these light fixtures, any type of light fixture is going to say dark or night sky compliant right on there.
yeah, we will certainly pass that on to the architect and make sure it meets the criteria.
Thank you.
And there's one other thing, the chair asked me to find another dimension. The sign is indicated on or the site plans that you got Friday. It does have a dimension of 2.5 feet, where 10 feet is required, the minimum distance from the property line, proposed at 2.5 feet, and it's on the third drawing, partial site layout, part A. Took me a while to find it.
10 feet and they're proposing 2.5 feet.
Right there.
10 feet and
Right.
they're 2.5
That dimension there. The dimension from the property line. Dimension there. And it's one of the waivers that are being asked for. I couldn't find that in the letter, but I see it on the drawing.
Right. Yeah. Nice of seeing where that leads to, so I'm glad you know that, because I was not going to pick that up. Okay. Where do you want to start? Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Size of the sign.
Okay.
How, square footage of the sign, if I'm doing my math right, is more than the 20 square foot limit? Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess when they were evaluating, they thought that the architect, the 24 square feet was permitted. But if it is indeed 20 square feet, we can meet, I mean, we're showing 22 for the sign itself. We can decrease that to meet it.
Is there one sign or two here?
One.
Okay, so if you include also where the phone number is, that adds a little
Correct.
size. If it's all one. So you can bring all of that into 20 square feet?
Yes, yeah, if that's what the board
Well,
wants.
I mean,
we will.
the engineers pointed that out, that the code said 20 square feet.
Right. Like, we don't, like, usually waivers are given for something that's exceptional or doesn't fit within the code for some unique reason.
Mhm.
And it doesn't seem like that's been, I mean, I know you're the wrong person to do an engineering in this evening that would like to take these comments.
There's not, the engineer is not here.
So,
But from People Inc.'s standpoint, if the board wants it, if the rule is 20 square feet, we are not gonna question that. We will decrease the size and meet the 20 square feet.
okay,
I mean,
so,
they want to do what the board is requesting to gain approval.
so do you have proposed dimensions? Because we need to be able to hand something off to a code enforcement officer to say, here's the 20 square feet.
Well, it's
And
gonna
I-
have to get redesigned because they're going to shrink the whole thing down.
And also, per the code, does the phone number count? Because if it's less than 2 square feet, typically, it's informational, it would not count.
Like, the way that this is measured is from the tip of your cabinet to the bottom of your phone number. And that is a maximum of 48 inches according to the code. And then within all of that, 20 square feet for area.
I don't think it's a directional sign if that's what Chris is asking. There are certain signs that don't require a permit, but I don't think that would be one of them. It's part of the leasing advertising for the.
Okay,
So-
yeah, that's fine then. So, yeah, we will reduce the size of everything to get to the 20 square feet.
Okay.
Doing it right now, I would rather take it back to the designer and have them decrease the main part, and probably not decrease the phone number. It's 7 inches high by 40 inches. To make it much smaller, probably not realistic, where I think we can decrease the upper cabinet and gain that square footage that's needed.
People rolling by in Evans are not gonna have time to jot that down. There's 0 places to pull over. So,
Yeah, it's walkable. I think it's important that they have the phone number. And again, that's a question I can go back to them and say, if they want to eliminate the phone number, then that takes away 2 square feet. But it's our understanding that, that's a walkable, very walkable area, and But again, that's not for me to answer. I'm not gonna speak for that.
So even without that though, the dimensions of this sign still have to get smaller because it's 22
Correct.
square feet without that. So yeah, you're gonna have to shrink the whole thing down if you want it to fit.
Yeah, which we can easily do.
And then, so are you proposing shrinking the pillars as well?
Do we have to? I mean,
Well, the width of the sign is going to decrease, I'm assuming.
yeah, I
The
was,
width of the sign board is going to decrease.
right. I mean, if,
If you shrink the sign and not the pillars, it's gonna look weird.
Well, it's the proportions, right?
yeah,
So
it will decrease.
16.
I mean, if we decreased it to, so it doesn't take much. I mean, if it's 40 by 70, then you're at 19.4. So it's not, to gain that additional square footage is not gonna it's not gonna decrease the size that much.
Okay.
So, I mean, from the column standpoint, do they wanna go to, 16 inches is only 2 bricks wide. So from a construction standpoint, and maybe those will be 12 by 12 columns if that, but you're not saying the columns have to shrink, you're just saying the sign
I'm
has to
asking
shrink.
what you're proposing. I mean, I'm not here to design it, I'm here to ask you what you want them to do.
Right, but by code, we don't have to shrink the columns, only the sign.
That is up to the sign officer to make comment on. And the sign officer is Mark Burke.
In talking to Mark about this application, we focused on the sign board, including the phone number. One way to go about this, understanding that the sign board may change and the planning board's concerned about the proportions and how it will look. You can approve it with performance standards. They'll have to submit revised drawings, and Mark and I will check it against what you approve. And if it doesn't meet what you approve, then they can come back to see you or revise.
Well, let's keep going through. We'll see what happens. So 24-inch base. That adds a lot of height to the overall sign towards the street. Why was 24 chosen?
We get a lot of snow, so anything less than 24 inches is gonna be, you're gonna have snow there. I mean, that's a pretty low base, 24 inches. And obviously it's on grade. So, I mean, we think 24 inches is very reasonable considering it's less than we are.
Does anybody have an issue with that?
As long as it's landscaped in the summer.
And according to SKC-05, it's hard to make out, but it looks like we've got some landscaping around this one.
If you're able to tell what it is,
It looks,
but it does look like there's some planting.
it looks like there's salix and there's dramatic logo. I believe. It looks like they're trimming up something. So it's adjacent to a different landscaping bed. I mean, I wish that they'd been incorporated together, like the landscaping bed and the sign. I mean, it just seems weird to have the sign with some shrubs and then have the nice landscaping bed behind it, like not associated with it. Did they speak to that at all?
No, where the sign's placed, there's not gonna be a lot of room behind it for us. I'm not sure what landscaping that you're discussing, but
They gave us this. And this is per the original drawings.
Okay.
This is a landscape
Yeah,
bed,
but I can see it.
and then here's the sign.
There would be a big-
And
And then
it
the
just
sign.
seems odd that they didn't incorporate
I can see it.
everywhere.
I know what she means. Typically, you would probably put
But
them
it's
together
showing
instead of
different
apart,
lines.
but
To me, it's correct.
Well, that
Otherwise,
makes the
this
code
would be-
compliant,
green space.
because I think that is required by the
What's up
code.
by the building, I'm not sure about, but yeah, we definitely want landscaping around it.
Yeah. That would just be something to ask, if, saying, you guys submitted the landscaping plan, but they weren't really cohesive.
Okay.
Right. So the thing though is that when I'm reading some of the landscaping, if I'm reading it right, it's saying 24 inches minimum. Is that what this is saying? And this is a little bit much for my old eyes here. That's the size? Is that 24 inches height? Okay, so that's the minimum. So once you get over, I mean, it could get higher than the base. If they're pulling that.
We have help with landscaping.
Okay,
Ed Pollock, CSS Construction, so we're the general contractor on the site, so. Going into some of the landscaping questions. Yes, so the 24-inch minimum, that is the size, it's gonna be a round, roughly round shrub. So that's gonna be the overall diameter, minimum diameter of that, and if it's an established shrub.
So that could come up over the edge of the pediment though, if it goes more than 24 inches, and could actually get in the way of your sign, right?
it's gonna cover the phone
Over,
number.
If it gets
So that-
24.
right. And so that 24 inches is the leading edge of that, up above where the sign actually, I don't think we have a dimension on there to where the bottom of the sign is,
Mhm.
above the grade. But
It's about a
They'll
foot on
certainly
one
have to
side
be
and
dusty.
24 on the other.
Yeah.
So
they'll
two
certainly have
bars.
to be maintained as part of the regular landscaping.
What is it? What kind of shrubs are they?
So those are, so that where it says 8 SC and 8 RA. So the RA is a fragrant sumac, and the SC is a sugar leaf laurel. I'm sorry, sage leaf laurel.
So
And those are consistent with, they're used elsewhere on the landscape plan for the overall site.
And then to speak on that separate planting bed that is off to the side there. When we were looking at this area, and again, part of the reason that this is being requested as close to the property line as it is, are the change in grade in this area here. So this added landscape bed is actually as a way of trying to ease some of that change in grade. It is rather steep in that area.
Okay. So we do have concerns that the plantings that have been selected are going to be taller than the sign. I mean, the shrubs grow over time, and
Right.
if they're not yanked out every year, they're going to cover up part of the sign.
So that 24 inches is a overall diameter.
Okay. But usually diameter is relative to height.
It is, correct. They will be trimmed over time if we'd like something smaller.
I'm just concerned for
Yeah.
Chris's pretty sign. I
Yeah,
mean,
seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, he's already established that the phone number is important to the applicant.
Absolutely.
It would also though look, it would look unkept if it starts to grow up over the sign.
Yeah.
Even if it's beautifully, manicured, it's still gonna look strange for anybody walking by or living in the neighborhood if it's coming up over the sign itself, so.
Yeah, it's definitely important to keep in mind for the maintenance of the,
Yeah, it's also on a slope, on a sign, so when you plant them, they're gonna be sloped the first year and as they grow. You know what I mean, are you gonna
Yeah.
top them off level? Are you gonna, it is what it is.
Right. I mean, and I don't know if Peoples Inc. is opposed to annuals, but many people, many people are planting, annuals in that type of situation. But then they need, though they're part of the approval, they need to go in every year.
Yeah, I think the annuals is great. Like a good example, if you look at the sign for Center Point, they do a beautiful job
They do.
with their annuals. And I think that's something that would look great around this sign.
Yeah.
That annuals.
So possibly the postpone landscaping and let them come back is something that's not going to cover the sign?
So, okay, so landscaping aside, how close is that sign to the driveway?
To the driveway,
Because I'm having a hard time finding dimensions for that.
is 6 foot off of the edge of the driveway. So that is
To the sign base,
to the sign.
perpendicular to it?
Yes.
So then it's closer with the landscaping bed, how wide's the landscaping bed? So it's at least 24 feet, or 24 inches. So,
So that 6 foot could be extended, that was just our general note as good practice for
So-
snow removal and.
My concern is maybe a little more prosaic, which is that pedestrians coming up that road won't necessarily see a car, and a car certainly won't see them. Now, you might think everybody's just gonna pull right up to the edge, but they don't. People will hang back and things like that. Typically, when we talk about line of sight at a corner or something, we're looking at 15 feet.
Right.
So this, and especially given the size of this sign, it's not some tiny little sign, that could really block the vision of the driver, at least in my opinion.
We did provide that 15-foot triangle on partial site layout plan A. It's that hashed area that's regular near the apron.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm concerned that somebody coming down here is not going to see a pedestrian and is not even necessarily stop there.
Oh,
Or that if there's some cars that are stacked up there, they won't see it and one person pulls out, the other person pulls out.
hill
behind
right
them.
here.
It just feels like that sign, it just seems to me that that sign is amazingly close to the driveway,
So steep.
given its size.
Is there another area that 15-foot site triangle should be measured from?
I believe what the planning board member is suggesting is the 15-foot clear sight triangle should also be applied to the sidewalk.
Thank you.
So it's drawn now from the curb,
Right, I guess that's what I was.
just for good site planning.
That's what we have to interpret, yeah.
If you slid that up to match the
So it's moving the sign to the south.
possibly,
If that 15-foot triangle.
yeah, I
does
don't
not
have a
prove
scale, I don't have a
free.
scale with me, but it,
Because that's very
Right.
steep.
I would,
right
I
there,
would,
too.
I would want that line of sight triangle to be, at the edge of the sidewalk, not the street.
it's actually, it doesn't make it. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
scale,
yeah.
but I have a piece of paper with a tick mark and
Well, that makes sense
it
though, like,
doesn't.
yeah, running it from. the
Which
edge of
would give
sidewalk.
you the opportunity to incorporate this into the bed next to it.
It may,
So if there's an opportunity.
And you won't need to be asking, or the applicant won't need to be asking us for a setback variance, which we don't see the need for at this point, so,
Sure.
that should be taken into consideration as well. I mean, how can we design this to meet the code? That's a designer's role.
Right.
If it's possible, then you better have, really darn good reason why we're not doing it. So, Chris has already said, no problem, shrink the sign. We're asking for the vision triangle to be re-looked at to include the sidewalk, because as Chris mentioned, this is a very pedestrian-friendly area. We do expect not only people that live in this property, but the rest of the community to keep walking to SJ and to Main Street.
Sure.
So those two items can be adjusted, and then as we've asked, for landscape to then look at the opportunities for shared space for landscaping the sign, as well as keeping the landscaping that was approved for the site plan. So maybe just gets enlarged. And then next time, can we get these
I'm sorry,
a little bigger?
a little bigger.
A little bigger. Like maybe just one on one.
The
and
size that you want.
Yeah, something like,
Sure.
maybe just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. So have we addressed everything? So setback, we're gonna look at that again. Lighting, it's a no-go on that one. Overall area, re-examine that. And
Materials and colors.
love it, Chris, love it.
This is the only sign on site, the other driveway to the south.
Nothing's being
Correct.
proposed. Because we only have a partial site plan.
I'm sorry.
I think that was-
Nothing's being proposed on the application, only one sign's proposed.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's all you can approve, because that's all that's proposed.
I personally love the high density urethane with the aluminum cabinet, using the materials from the building. Does anyone have an issue with any of that?
No, I like the design and how it integrates in with the building. I just want it a little safer and a little slower.
Great.
Okay.
So should we see you next month, with a revised package, and maybe you can get that together in the next 2 weeks, and
Yeah, we can, yes, we can modify the drawing quickly.
perfect.
We can just table this.
We can table it instead of denying parts of it, and then we'll just see you next month, at the May meeting.
Okay.
We have a date for you and, a submission deadline.
We need to check on the website.
Yes, it needs to be
That's
done.
first. Okay.
So we'll leave that up to them to
Oh,
decide.
I mean, just
So-
calendar.
I'll make a motion to table log 2025
May 5th.
PB05 135 Evans from Boca Apartment and People's Inc. sign permit. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. We'll see you next month.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
Chris.
gonna be Monday, May
Seeing no
5th.
A little
additional
less
the
than
first.
2 weeks would be good.
business,
because That's when
does
Carol
anyone
and
have
I
anything for the good of the
get
order?
ourselves together.
Seeing none,
Yeah.
make a motion to
I'll revise it right away.
Okay.
close, adjourn the meeting.
All right.
Yeah, we can certainly get stuff over even next week.
That's me.
7:57, do I have a second?
Okay, it'll be May 5th.
David.
Second by David, all in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
So now.
It was David was the second. Yes.
Thank you.
To, and the
I don't
meeting,
know, that's a question.
Yes.
Okay,
I haven't seen it.
Kate was the